There are stories that linger, just beyond the edge of your understanding. Tales whispered in the shadows where your mind is too tense to look away or blink. This one is like that. Stay with me, and you'll uncover what's hidden beneath the surface of an ordinary day and a friendship tangled in strange and chilling ritual. A story that begins with a boy named Cody, who was anything but ordinary. A boy obsessed with the unknown, and the kind of mystery that makes your skin crawl and your heart race. What happens next is more than just a ghost story. It will grip you with anticipation and dread. So before we dive deeper, do yourself a favor and hit subscribe and ring that bell, because you don't want to miss this journey into darkness. Every step forward reveals something more terrifying. Trust me, you'll want to be here until the very last word. The afternoon started like any other. The warm breeze scattering dry leaves over the cracked concrete where Cody sat, leaning across the weathered picnic table. Eyes wide behind bent glasses, breath tinged with sour candy, as he spoke in a low, serious tone that made the haunts of his stories sound real. "I'm serious this time," he told me, claiming that unlike his previous tall tales conjured from YouTube or Google, this ritual was found on a creepy website hidden deep in the dark web, reachable only by special browsers most kids never heard of, which he called the hidden browser. I laughed and toyed with the peeling paint, but Cody's elbow jabbed me with enough enthusiasm to be counted as a shove, though he was always skinny and unassuming with elbows pointy enough for jokes about stealth attacks. But this was different. He wasn't spinning fairy tales. He'd invested hours of real research to uncover this spell, this ritual that promised a final encounter with whatever lurked beyond the veil. And I was foolish enough to be part of it, because he had been my friend forever, since the days of capes and claims of wizard blood back in kindergarten. Cody was an aficionado of all things dark and paranormal, a collector of macabre stories, haunted roads, ghostly sightings, and cryptic spells that others shrank away from, branding us the spooky kids to the rest of the school, counting monsters and rituals instead of sports cards, quietly feared and mostly avoided. He was annoying sometimes, knowing more than he let on just to keep me guessing. But when he looked at me with that ridiculous, excited grin and said, "Come on, it'll be awesome, I swear," I broke and gave him a fist bump across the splintered wood, promising if I ended up eating another crayon, he'd lose me forever. This was a promise etched in Pokemon cards and stubborn loyalty, a deal that sealed the seriousness etched in the dirt paths as we sped off on our bikes, the pounding of tires matching the pounding of my heart as we raced toward what we hoped was history. The ride was a blur of steamy summer air and neighborhood distractions, shouts from old ladies, the smell of something sizzling on grills, fresh-cut grass fields fading past in the wind. But Cody's manic energy was infectious, arms stretched wide as he coasted down the hill near the abandoned video store, like he was about to make the impossible real. His home was a squat square set quietly behind a tattered basketball hoop, barely clinging to the garage, and the darkness of missing parental figures clung to the place like a shadow. His mother lost in night shifts, his father a ghost altogether, leaving Cody to step between boyhood and self-sufficiency, with a mixture of wild spirit and grown-up loneliness that no one could truly understand. We dropped our bikes near the porch, the old dirt patch barely able to hold the promise of our last adventure. The basement door creaked open with a dramatic sweep and revealed a chamber transformed from a dusty mess into a cryptic shrine filled with circles of cooking salt, dozens of stubborn candles flickering dimly around a massive pentagram chalked directly onto the cold concrete floor. Broken shards of mirrors, animal bones, and pages torn from ancient books littered the space. The air was thick and sticky, mingled with the choking smells of burnt matches and something darker, deeper. Cody's enthusiasm eclipsed my growing sense of unease as he tossed me a crumpled bag of chips, the playful warrior's rations, demanding I prepare for battle because no ancient evil was defeated on an empty stomach. I crouched down, fingers trembling as I touched the food, realizing this was beyond any juvenile prank Cody ever pulled, beyond any amateur ghost hunt or whispered phrase to a bathroom mirror. This was serious and cold and terrible. The paper in his hand unraveled next, layered with crooked lines of supposed Latin and meaningless phrases mixing in doubt and arcane promises, the ritual that supposedly opened doors between worlds, but demanded respect and intention. We whispered the words together, half serious, half amused, beneath the wavering candlelight until an unexplainable pulse shook the chalk lines beneath our feet. A crimson glow rippled faintly around the pentagram, and the candles shifted from flickering to bending inward as if pulled by invisible strings, and the air thickened until it began to buzz, close and metallic and sharp. Cody's triumphant grin grew wider even as my heart hammered louder, pounding into the frightening silence that stretched out between moments. The figure that formed was darkness itself, a shapeless horror rising from the glowing lines like smoke given weight, a terrifying silhouette with arms that unfurled slow and heavy, towering over Cody without sound. My throat closed as a guttural snap echoed, and then his neck fell silently away from his shoulders, blood spraying like a twisted nightmare, painting the polished floor beneath the pentagram. Chaos erupted inside me as I fled headlong up the stairs, slamming into walls and smashing through the chaos of the living room. The crashing lamp and shattered glass exploded into screams that no one heard but me. I burst outside, heart tearing my chest apart, legs pumping faster than ever, tears blurring the streetlights into streaks of orange as I escaped the sinking scent of death trailing behind me. I ran toward the old shack in the woods we had always considered a forgotten secret, the place where childhood avoided the shadows for a little while longer. Collapsing inside the rotting shelter, coldness wrapped around me like a freezing shroud, breath raw, dust thick and suffocating as my heartbeat thundered louder with every passing second. The creature followed, stalking steps heavy on broken floorboards, scraping like nails on wood. I held my breath, curled tight as the shadows closed in. I didn't understand what it was, what compelled it to hunt, how to stop it. Then home betrayed me. My parents' arguing stopped and twisted into silence. When I crept out into the dim hallway, the wreckage of violence unveiled an unspeakable horror. Blood-stained floors, broken furniture destroyed like a nightmare made real, motion near the fireplace that made my stomach churn. A black-skinned, twisted figure with unnatural head cocked and eyes fixed on mine with deadly intent, the same nightmare creature from the basement. Cody's promise of safety shattered, his death a gaping wound in my soul, the fail-safe useless. Alone, cornered, I ran again, stumbling and crashing through the house like a frantic shadow fleeing the monster my best friend unleashed and could no longer control, the creature's ragged breaths hot on my back, until I burst through the front door into the cold night, tears and pain blurring the edges of terrifying reality. I hurtled toward the woods and the shelter once again, seeking refuge in the darkness but finding only chilling silence. The unanswered question thick on my lips. What do you do when the darkness is real and the ones you trusted have fallen. The true terror isn't the ritual or the creature. It's the unknown that comes after. The creeping dread of facing a nightmare that will not end. The paralysis of realizing your friend's final secret may be the most dangerous of all. This story ends with a question that haunts long after the last word is spoken. How do you fight a shadow that wears your best friend's face?